Hi guys, welcome. Today we are lucky enough to have Kole Oliver. Uh, Cole, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, no problem.
So, how long you been with the fire department for?
Going on 11 years now.
11 years. So, I mean, I've been getting hit up a lot with all the fires going on. We're January right now, 2025. People asking, okay, content for ways to try to protect ourselves, how the fire is going to be affected. If there is a fire, what should I do? So I thought, you know what? Let's get someone smart on here. The first three people said no, but we did get Kole Oliver on the platform. Thank you, Cole, for being here again. All right, so what are things people can do right now to just kind of get ready to be safe during a fire, like extinguishers? I mean, other stuff, I guess.
I guess it kind of depends on where you live. The people who live in like where the Palisades are near the ocean, we're in the urban interface, what they call it. It's kind of tough to even do much because the wind that you guys are experiencing down there, the Santa Anas that are pushing 100 miles an hour, there's really not much you can do in all reality. And that's why there's so much destruction. Because once fire starts going from house to house, the only thing you can do is just try to leave before disaster strikes with evacuations. Like you saw bulldozers pushing cars out of the streets because people were too late to leave, or the winds just didn't allow them to leave in time. So I think the classic stuff is like what you see online, and Cal Fire posted all the time: the go bag and make sure you have all your documents and everything. And they have a bunch of pets, something pills. I don't know what it is, but when it comes to wind-driven fires that are pushing 100 miles an hour, there's nothing you can do in all reality. It's going to burn what it's going to burn until the wind stops. And we've been dealing with that for years, not quite to this degree of weather, but the wind-driven fires, I mean, we just try and save people and houses until the wind stops, and then we can put the fire out. People who live out in the sticks and out in the woods or mountaintops, I mean, if it was me personally, if you even have the ability to have insurance right now in some of those places, I would have nothing but green grass and dirt around my house as far as you can see, because it's kind of intense, especially with the wind. I mean, the defensible space is the number one thing that's going to save you. And I mean, that fire that started today in Castaic, I mean, that jumped a piece of that lake, and that's thousands of feet wide in some spots because the wind is so fast. So, I mean, up here where I live, if you don't live in the middle of the city, you really can't get insurance anywhere else. And the people who have it currently are just trying not to get dropped. And so if I lived out there in a place where you either are going to get dropped or can't get insurance at all, I wouldn't have a single piece of vegetation. It would be green grass and dirt all around my house.
What about those like sprinkler sets, whatever, for like protections? I've seen stuff like that.
So I think it was 3 years ago now, there was a fire coming. I live in a neighborhood. There's a fire to the north of me, and the wind had the column directly above our house. And the first thing I did is went to the store and bought sprinklers and threw it on the roof of my house with just normal hose. Because the places I have seen survive, especially in neighborhoods, it's the people who had sprinklers either on, people turn their sprinklers on before they leave. The hard part is, depending on where you live, as soon as the power goes out, you might not have water because the pumps all go off, especially if you're on a well or something. If you're on a municipal water system, you might be able to get sprinklers going and keep them going for a while. But that's the first thing I can think of. I've seen it work a lot. And some of the major fires I've been on, like the ones in 2017 in Santa Rosa, the car fire here locally in Redding, I've seen a single house in a neighborhood survive because they just so happen to have their sprinklers on. But it all depends on the microenvironments of the fire too, because you got to think of wind gusts. It just so happens to gust right when it's next to your place. It's going to throw an ember somewhere that it shouldn't be, or you just get lucky. So it's hard to say the specific environment of the fire when it gets to your house. Like the smallest change in wind or whatever can change anything. So I do think sprinklers personally are very helpful, and I think because it raises the humidity around your house, hopefully an ember doesn't quite hit that specific area where an ignition can occur and have sustained combustion. But it's a matter of luck, and hopefully it's something like a sprinkler that can potentially save you in the aftermath.
So you're talking about that, like they'll have not tow trucks, but like just like knocking through cars if you're basically haven't evacuated in time, just to save. Like, so what? I mean, how early in advance should you be out or be gone to kind of protect yourself, I guess, from stuff like
I mean,
that?
as soon as you know, as you might know, there's two versions of evacuations, right? There's like evacuation orders, like you have to go, and then there's
Yeah.
people who get put in the other evacuation zone, which is like, hey, just a heads up, the fire's kind of coming your way. So if I were you, I would like an advisory thing. It's called, that you're advised that like, hey, it's coming, so maybe you should think about getting ready to go. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the people, especially like it was the Eaton and the Palisades, didn't really have that much time to think because 100 miles an hour, I mean, fire's moving so fast that you would have no time at all. And then some of those neighborhoods didn't really have a ton of ways out. They're one or two ways out. So they just got bombarded with traffic of people trying to leave. And then when the fire gets close, people panic, get out of the cars and run. And then all of a sudden the roads are blocked for not only people trying to get out, but the fire department trying to get in. So that's the second time I've ever heard of that happening. In the Camp Fire in 2018, we had a similar situation where we had to get dozers out to push cars out of the way to get fire engines in to help the rest of the people that are still back in there. And that was also, I mean, that's still, as of right now, the deadliest fire in California's history. So,
do you know, and you might even know, does insurance take care of your car in that situation?
that's a great question. I would assume so. I mean, there's some of the little stuff in policies I've seen, especially with the fire stuff. Unless it's intentional arson on your part, they usually have to cover you for most of those things.
Okay, so you hear about that. There's there might be a fire area. What are some of the first things you should do? I guess besides evacuating, are other things that like you already said, get your important items. Is there anything else you can do to make it easier for the firemen to kind of help?
Well, a big thing you can do is the window, whatever, the curtains, draw your curtains all the way down and block the windows, because a lot of times the radiant heat from right outside your window can cause something to catch on fire on the inside. Our general rule of thumb when we're doing structure protection and we're making entry into houses trying to make things work is if you can see your hand through your window shades, to keep them open. And if you can't see your hand through them, they're usually thick enough to kind of block out that radiant heat. So we turn off the like the air conditioning or the heater, whatever time of year it is or how hot it is, because that stuff, once an attic gets going or a fire gets going in your attic, and there's a lot of movement with air, it kind of makes the fire move a lot quicker. So we turn off that stuff, close the shades if they're thick shades, turn on the sprinklers and stuff. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna do this real quick.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never heard about the shade thing, but
yeah, it's something that we were taught when we were firefighters. If somehow we make it into somebody's house, like usually they're all locked, so we don't really go inside. But if someone leaves something unlocked, we usually try and go in and try and do as much as we can. I would take anything away. Like what we do personally on fire engines is that anything flammable near the house, we take it all and we just chuck it as far away as possible, especially out in the woods. People have firewood and stuff like that stuck from their porch. Seat cushions for outside furniture, all those things that are super easily ignitable. I mean, all those cushions and everything are made out of like petroleum-based products, so they burn really easily. So I would take all the cushions, either put them inside your house or just chuck them as far away as possible from your house. Pull everything away from the siding. If you have the opportunity or the time, the gable vents that go into your attic, I mean, some houses are kind of tall and you need a ladder and whatnot, but getting those covered would be huge. You're supposed to already have like a mesh on the inside of them anyway to protect from embers coming in, but that's the biggest thing that causes fires is stuff in your gutters, like leaves if you don't clean your gutters out, and the gable vents that go into your attic. That's pretty much what allows fire to get established inside your house.
So you said you check to see if the home's unlocked. So do you go to home and just check it out, and then if it is, you?
I mean, not really. We usually do just to make sure that like everything they have or everything that we can do to prevent that from catching on fire is good. So like to close shades and things like that. And so like, we just go check every door and try and get into it. It's only in a matter of, there's a few things that happen, right? So there's like 6 different types of structure protection that we engage in. Some of it comes after the fire front comes through. Some of it's before the fire front comes through. And a lot of times we put ourselves in some super hairy positions where we have to seek refuge inside the house. So if that's the case, if it's locked, we're going to break the door down anyway. But we sometimes use the house as what we call like a temporary refuge area, a TRA. so we can get inside of it real quick and let the main fire front blow through, and where we like really wouldn't be able to survive outside without being very, very uncomfortable, or we just get in the engine and leave. So it kind of depends. It depends on how risky the engine company is as far as the people and how much experience they have. Sometimes we get caught in positions that are just super sketchy, and we have to do stuff that to kind of get through the moment and survive a little bit.
So I'm assuming like if you have a gate or anything like that, make sure it's unlocked, take all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got to be. It's a two-edged sword, because you got to be careful with all the looting stuff that's going on right now, right? So I'd never encourage anybody to leave their house unlocked in this situation ever, because if we would need to get in, we're going to get in regardless.
Yeah.
Good, but the looting that's going on after the fact, especially in the last 5 years, is kind of nuts. So I would try and keep that thing as locked up as possible. We have to deal with gates and doors and stuff all the time as a fire department, so we're going to get in if we need to get in. It's just going to take a little bit of time if necessary. And usually, if you got super fancy gates and stuff, you usually have pretty good defensible space. So,
gotcha. And then what's the best? I mean, what's protocol to like? Okay, it looks like the fire's 100% contained. How can I check to see if my house is, still there, or what can I do? Is there like a website or a place to usually go to, or someone to call, or?
Yeah, these ones that are currently happening in LA, that like the fire's pretty much done. They have, it's like really kind of gotten pretty advanced the last couple of years with the DINs, like the damage inspection people. So they now have live mapping that I think you can find it on CAL FIRE's website. I've seen a couple of news agencies post a live link to every time they go look at a house and see if it's been damaged, destroyed, or completely okay. The live updates to the website. I haven't dealt with it much. I don't really deal with that part of the department at all. I've just kind of what I've heard and seen from other people and the news. But yeah, there's a website. I'm pretty sure CAL FIRE has it on their website that you can look and see if you haven't been allowed back into that area yet. It's usually because they're not done doing the damage inspection and all the other stuff that comes with it, like cadaver dogs and trying to find missing people and things like that. But most of the stuff they've already done is already online, and it's a live website to find out.
Wait, so what's that process? So the fire's out, then they have a group that goes out there to kind of assess the damage?
Yeah, these major fires, they have a couple of task forces are activated. The USAR, Urban Search and Rescue, like FEMA style National Response Task Force. So there's like 7 of them in California. They go to all the major, like large events. It's made up of like 50 to 75 people, and they specialize in search and rescue, specialized tactics of like 9/11 type stuff with rescues. They have cadaver dogs and search dogs and all kinds of teams that they call out. So this type of fire that happened in LA, like major, same thing happened at the campfire. They go, there's like a ton of missing people, right? So families are saying, hey, I haven't gotten a hold of my sibling or whatever. We don't know what happened. So they're going to go through every single house with cadaver dogs and try and find out if there's any human remains in any of those houses. And then they usually mark them somehow with flagging or an X or whatnot, and move on to house to house to house until they're done.
Oh, wow. Any last words of like wisdom that you kind of throw at us, the stuff that people do and you wish they didn't do, or just to be aware of, or anything like that?
People stay too long. Usually they stay because they think they can protect their house, which, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of times where I wouldn't leave, but I also know how fire behavior works. And if it was 100-mile-an-hour winds, I guarantee you I would not stay at all, because there's nothing you can do. The hose, or a common residential hose, is not going to do anything it needs to do to save your house when the winds are that bad. When it comes to the stuff that's happening with you guys in your red flag events every other week right now, it's nuts. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do right now that's going to stop anything from happening, except for like home hardening is what they call it, right? So just be prepared for what could possibly happen based on where you live. If you live on the like the urban interface, like right there at the edge of the city and the wildland or the brush or whatever it may be, that's like the most dangerous place to live, because you're transitioning from the wildland into the structures, and that's where probably the most amount of damage is going to happen, just because of the sheer force of the wind-driven fires. So those areas specifically, I would get rid of everything that has anything to do with chamise, which is the common brush type down there that burns really hot. Get rid of all that stuff that's anywhere near your property. Take everything that's close to your house that's flammable. It's not like usually decorative bushes and decorative flowers are pretty green. Like green grass doesn't burn usually. You'll see a lot of these houses that burn down their front yard that's green, it's not unaffected. It might be dead after the fact, but it's not going to burn. So green grass, everything away from your house that's flammable, anything bushy that's going to burn. I would just get rid of it completely, and just to give yourself a chance, really.
Someone asked, what should new homes have to fight fires? Well, you kind of talked about sprinklers. Is there anything else? I guess like extinguishers. I mean, anything else that's really.
My understanding is the building code in California recently, it's like really strict. So they have to be sprinklered on the inside, which could help. But it's not going to help if your attic catches on fire, and that's usually what happens. That's more for like the residential type fires. Like if someone drops a candle or whatever, a cat knocks over a candle, the sprinklers will help with that. But when it comes to the vegetation fires, it's not really going to do much. I think the new homes need to be built with like non-combustible construction, like wood siding is pretty much done. Metal roofs and comp roofs are usually all right. The gutters are where it really comes in. Like I know they sell those gutter covers now. They're like mesh that prevent the leaves and stuff from getting caught up in your gutters. That's probably a really good idea, especially if you live in a place that's prone to fires like this. And then I think there's something new with the gable vents too. But new houses are kind of strict anyway, and they're pretty. I think they've realized the climate of California right now and what needs to be done in new houses, but they're usually pretty fireproof as it is. It's the older ones, especially anything that has a wood shake roof. Like nowadays, I know you don't really see them very often anymore, but that is the absolute worst roof that you can have. For sure. I don't even know if an insurance company will cover you if you have a wood shake roof.
Well, hey, thank you so much, Kole, for being here. Yeah, I mean, and thank you for what you do. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No problem.
See you guys. Have a good one.